All right, so Reddit, right. It can be a little intimidating.
Oh, yeah.
When you first jump in, like, where do you even start?
It's a lot.
Yeah, and today we're diving into how it can be helpful for anyone starting a business
Mm-hmm.
or a side hustle.
For sure.
And we have this article from blogwitter.com
Okay.
called Reddit Communities for New Business Startups.
Okay.
It's a guide to valuable resources, and it's highlighting a few different subreddits.
Perfect.
So let's just jump into it.
Yep.
Startups, the first one on the list.
That's a big one.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Over 781,000 members.
Wow.
And they're all about scaling businesses.
Which is a whole,
It's a whole thing.
it's a whole conversation.
Yeah. It's not just about getting bigger.
No, it's about doing it right.
Right.
In a smart way.
So the article mentions share your startup threads.
Yeah.
What's so valuable about those for new business owners?
Well, I think early feedback is so crucial.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially when you're first starting out.
Yeah.
You have an idea and you're like, is this even a good idea?
Right.
Should I even bother?
Does this have legs?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So getting that feedback from other entrepreneurs who may have
Oh, yeah. People who've been there.
been there,
Yeah.
done that,
Done that.
can be really valuable.
Just like a sounding board almost.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And then it also mentions Manic Mondays
Yes.
threads.
I love Manic Mondays.
I feel like everyone who's
Is that
ever
a side hustle
worked a job, run a business,
or a business?
you've had a Manic Monday.
You know what Manic Monday is?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so it's basically just a space to kind of
Vent,
vent, get support, share
Yeah.
your struggles.
commiserate.
Yeah, because it can be lonely,
Oh, so long.
especially if you're working on your own.
Yeah, or even if you're not, sometimes you just need people who get it.
Totally.
Yeah.
So it's nice to have that community.
Okay, so startups, you've got kind of
It's very much like if you're thinking big, fast-paced, yeah,
yeah.
venture capital, that kind of thing.
Okay, and then we move on to entrepreneur,
Mm-hmm.
which is a little bit of a different,
A little broader focus.
not just for startups.
No, it's really for anybody
Yeah.
with that entrepreneurial spirit.
So even if you're I don't know if I'm an entrepreneur, but I've got this idea.
Yeah. You're thinking about starting a side hustle.
Yeah.
You're trying to figure out how to
Yeah, make some extra money.
make some extra cash.
Yeah.
That's the place to be.
And it mentions Newbie Monday threads.
Uh-huh.
What's happening over there?
So that is perfect for people who are new to the world of entrepreneurship,
Okay.
who maybe feel a little bit intimidated,
Sure.
like they don't know where to start.
It can be scary.
It can be really overwhelming.
Absolutely.
So Newbie Monday is a place where you can ask any question,
Yeah.
no matter how basic.
No dumb questions.
No dumb questions.
Can I say?
And get support from people
Yeah.
who've been there.
People who have been there, who are maybe a few steps ahead.
Exactly.
Okay, so you've got the fast-paced startups, the slightly more inclusive entrepreneur.
Yeah.
What's next?
Okay, so next we've got small business,
Okay.
which is, as the name suggests,
Pretty self-explanatory.
it's all about running a small business.
How is that different, though, from what we've already talked about?
So this is more for, your brick and mortar businesses,
Okay.
your local shops, your service providers.
So, really in the community kind of businesses?
Yeah, exactly. So
Right.
less about,
Less about that.
building a billion-dollar company.
Silicon Valley.
Yeah, and more about just the
Right.
day-to-day of
Yeah, keeping the lights on.
keeping the lights on, serving your customers,
Right.
that kind of thing.
The article mentions that they have these weekly threads
Yes.
for promoting your business, which is interesting
Yeah.
because we saw that in startups too.
Mm-hmm.
But is it the same kind of vibe?
Not necessarily, no.
Okay.
So in startups, you're kind of pitching your business
Okay.
to other entrepreneurs, potential investors.
So it's a very specific audience.
Very specific.
Okay.
Whereas in small business,
Right.
you're more likely to be connecting with
Local
customers.
Yeah.
So people who might actually walk into your store.
Right. People who are going to be your customers.
Exactly.
Okay.
So it's all about tailoring your message to the right audience.
So knowing your audience is key.
Very important.
All right. And then we move on to something that I feel like
This is a big one.
this is relevant for everybody.
Yeah.
Marketing.
Everybody needs marketing,
Oh, absolutely.
no matter what you're doing.
Whether you think you do or not, you do.
Whether you realize it or not, you're
Yeah.
marketing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So how does harm marketing help entrepreneurs stay on top of trends? Because it feels like
It changes so fast.
every day it's something new.
All the time, yeah.
So what are they doing over there that's so helpful?
Well, it's basically a constant stream of information, new trends, strategies.
So like you said, a constant stream.
Yeah, so it's very much like
Okay.
keeping your finger on the pulse of what's
Oh.
happening in the marketing world.
Okay. So even if you're not like a marketing expert,
Mm-hmm.
this is still a good place to be.
Definitely. Even if you eventually outsource your marketing,
Right.
I think it's important to
Understand the basics.
have a basic understanding
Yeah,
of
absolutely.
how it works.
Okay, so marketing, it's like the friend who's always up on the trends. But in this case,
Exactly.
the trends are for business.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. And then this one is a little different.
This is a fun one.
Our side project,
Yes.
which seems super relevant to anyone who's like,
Got that side hustle going?
got that side hustle. Maybe they're working a 9 to 5, but they're like, I've got this idea.
Yeah.
I'm working on this on nights and weekends.
It's your passion project.
Yeah.
The thing that you're doing for fun.
Yeah, it's your baby. And the article really highlights the community aspect of it.
Yes.
And I think that that's so important for anyone who's
especially if you're working alone.
working on their own.
Yeah.
Like, it can feel very isolating.
It can be incredibly isolating.
Yeah.
Yeah. So having that community where you can share your progress, get feedback,
Yeah.
celebrate your wins.
Yeah, and maybe even when you're feeling down,
Yeah.
be like, guys, I need some help.
Yeah. You need that support system.
Okay, so our side project, it's like a virtual co-working space.
Yeah.
But without...
Without the commute and the expensive coffee.
All right, last but not least...
Okay, this one's a little mysterious.
It is a little mysterious.
Entrepreneurious.
The article doesn't go into a ton of detail.
Not a lot, but it does talk about...
It mentions learning from other people's experiences, which is something we've seen.
Yeah, that's a common thread.
In a lot of these.
Through a lot of these communities.
Yeah.
The idea of learning from others.
But what makes the ride-along concept...
It's interesting.
unique.
It's not just reading a blog post
Right.
or listening to a podcast.
It's like you're in the trenches.
It's like you're right there with them.
Yeah.
Experiencing the ups and downs.
So it's more of like a...
More immersive.
Yeah, immersive kind of experience.
Yeah, I think so.
Now, before we move on to part 2,
Okay.
there's one thing I want to touch on.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the article, it mentions this disclaimer
Right.
that Reddit is just one source of information.
It's important to remember that
Yeah.
Reddit is a community.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not necessarily a definitive source of truth.
So you're saying don't take everything you read.
Exactly. It's a great place to explore ideas, to get different perspectives,
Yeah.
but always do your own research.
Right.
And if you need professional advice,
Yeah.
seek it out.
Don't just rely on
Don't just go to Reddit.
Reddit. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like a buffet of entrepreneurial wisdom.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's a good way to put it.
You can sample different things,
Mm-hmm.
but ultimately you decide what's right for you.
Exactly.
Okay, awesome. Well, we are going to take a quick break,
Okay.
and we'll be back in just a minute with part 2.
Sounds good.
All right, so we dove into a few subreddits in part 1,
We did.
and now we're back
Back for more.
for part 2.
Mm-hmm.
So let's recap a little bit.
Yeah, let's refresh our memories.
We started with startups,
The big one.
the big leagues, right?
Yeah. High growth, scalability,
Venture capital.
all of that.
All those buzzwords.
Yeah, exactly.
And we talked about those share your startup threads.
Yeah.
So, like, what's your takeaway from that?
I think it's just so valuable to have
Mm-hmm.
that opportunity to get feedback from
Yeah.
other entrepreneurs who are in the trenches.
People who are doing the thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's not just theoretical advice.
Right. It's not a...
It's from people who are actually out there
Yeah, and the real work.
building businesses,
Yeah.
making mistakes, learning lessons.
And then we moved on to entrepreneur.
Yeah, a little broader,
Little broader focus.
a little more inclusive.
Yeah, not just for startups.
No, anybody with
Yeah.
an entrepreneurial spirit.
Those Newbie Monday threads.
Oh, I love those.
I think that is such a good idea.
Yeah, it's so important to have a space where
Yeah.
you can ask those
Yes.
questions that you're maybe a little embarrassed to ask.
Because we all have them.
Oh, we all do.
Even when you're not a noob anymore,
Totally.
there are still things that you're like, yeah.
I should probably know this, but I don't.
Yeah.
So it's nice to have that space.
Yeah. Okay, then we talked about small business,
Mm-hmm.
which is a whole
Different ball game.
different world.
Yeah,
Right.
it really is.
It's like the,
It's the nitty-gritty,
yeah, the
the
day-to-days.
day-to-day grind.
What stood out to you the most about that one?
I think just the practicality of it.
Okay.
It's very much like,
Yeah.
here are the challenges that small business owners face.
Yeah.
And here's how you can overcome them.
Okay, so it's very solution-oriented.
Yeah, very much so.
Okay, and then the always changing world of our marketing.
Oh, yes.
Like, how does anyone
It's a whirlwind.
keep up?
I know. It's constantly evolving.
So I'm thinking about our listener right now,
Mhm.
who might be feeling overwhelmed
Yeah.
by all of this.
It's a lot to take in.
What advice would you give them?
I would say start small.
Okay.
Pick one area of marketing that interests you.
Okay.
Maybe it's social media.
Okay.
Maybe it's email marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever it is,
Yeah.
focus on that.
Okay.
Get really good at that.
Don't try to do everything at once.
Exactly. And then you can branch out from there.
Okay. Good advice.
And there are so many resources
Yes.
available online.
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't have to be an expert to be effective.
Okay, cool. And then last but not least, our side project.
Yeah.
The land of passion projects.
The side hustle haven.
Yeah, it's so cool because it really feels like
It's a community.
community.
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
I love that people can go there
Yeah.
and share their ideas, get feedback,
Yeah.
and just support each other.
Because it can feel
It can be so lonely.
so lonely when you're working on.
Especially if you're working on it in your spare time.
Yeah, like late at night.
Yeah, the weekends.
You're like, I'm the only one.
Yeah, am I the only one doing this?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's nice to know that you're not alone.
Okay, and then we ended on kind of a mysterious note with
The enigmatic.
Entrepreneur Ride Along.
Yeah.
What do you think makes that so compelling?
I think it's the idea of seeing
Yeah.
the behind the scenes of someone else's journey.
Yeah, not just the highlight reel.
Not just the successes,
Right.
but the struggles, the pivots,
Mm-hmm.
the moments of doubt.
Yeah, that's what makes it real.
That's what makes it relatable.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So we've recapped all of our subreddits from part 1.
We have.
Now I want to pose a question to you, dear listener.
Okay.
Which one of these subreddits resonates with you the most? And why?
Good question.
What is it about that community that you find appealing or helpful?
Yeah.
Just something to think about as we move on to part 3.
Oh.
Okay, so we've talked about all these amazing Reddit communities for entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, could there be a downside?
Ooh, interesting question.
Like, is there a risk of getting too caught up
Oh, yeah.
in these online communities?
Absolutely.
Where you're spending all your time on Reddit and not enough time actually building your business?
Yeah, you could definitely fall down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
It's so easy to do.
Because there's so much information.
Yeah, and you're like,
So much inspiration.
oh, I just want to read one more post.
Yeah, one more thread.
And then suddenly it's 3 hours later.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important to be mindful of how you're spending your time.
So set some boundaries.
Yes, definitely. Treat it like any other task in your workday.
Okay.
Schedule it in.
Okay.
Be strategic about what you're looking for.
Don't just mindlessly scroll.
Exactly.
Okay. So it's like you can have dessert,
Yeah,
but you don't want to make it your whole meal.
exactly. It's all about balance.
Okay. Good advice.
Mm-hmm.
So as we wrap up,
Okay.
what's the one thing you want our listeners to take away
Ooh, that's a good question.
from this deep dive?
I think the biggest thing is you're not alone.
Oh, absolutely.
No matter what challenges you're facing as an entrepreneur,
Yeah.
there are other people out there who have been through it
Yeah.
and who are going through it right now.
Yeah.
And these Reddit communities are a great way to connect with those people.
Yeah. Find your people.
Exactly.
Yeah. And even if you're not ready to start posting, just reading those threads can be really valuable.
It's like attending a virtual conference.
Oh, I like that.
You're soaking up the knowledge, the energy,
The inspiration.
the inspiration. Yeah.
Okay, so to wrap things up, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought.
Okay, like it.
We've talked about all these different Reddit communities and how valuable they can be, but ultimately it's up to you to decide what works best for you.
Absolutely.
And your business.
Your unique journey.
Your unique journey.
Yeah.
So keep exploring, keep learning, and keep that entrepreneurial fire burning.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us
It's been fun.
on this deep dive into Reddit.
Yeah, until next time.